Daeho wiped the sweat from his forehead and stared at the broken water pump. The colony on Talon's Edge had only been running for 6 months, and already everything was falling apart. The desert planet was brutal, hot during the day, freezing at night, and full of dust that got into every machine. He was an engineer, not a hero. He fixed things. That was his job. That was all he wanted to do. "Daeho!" someone shouted from outside the equipment shed. He looked up to see Ji-won running toward him. She was the colony's scientist, always busy studying the local life forms and rocks. But right now, her face was pale with fear. "They're here," she said, breathing hard. "The Vraka, at the main gate." Daeho's stomach dropped. Everyone in the colony knew about the Vraka. They were one of the most dangerous species on this planet. Tall reptilian warriors who valued honor and combat above everything else. Their scales were thick like armor, their claws could tear through metal, and they had never lost a war. The humans had been warned to stay away from Vraka territory, but the colony maps were old and incomplete. Nobody knew they had built their settlement on sacred Vraka land until now. Daeho followed Ji-won to the main gate. Half the colony was already there, about 200 humans standing behind a thin metal fence. On the other side stood the Vraka war party. There were at least 50 of them. Each one stood over 7 feet tall, their green and brown scales gleaming in the desert sun. They wore leather armor and carried weapons that looked ancient but deadly. Spears, axes, curved blades that caught the light. At the front of the group stood their leader. She was taller than the others, with darker scales that were almost black. Scars crossed her arms and face, each one a story of battle. Her eyes were golden and cold. She held a long spear with a blade that seemed to glow with a faint red light. The other Vraka stood slightly behind her, a sign of respect and fear. This was Myon, chieftain of the southern clans. Daeho had read about her in the colony database. She had never been defeated in combat. She had killed 17 warriors in honor challenges. Even other Vraka clans feared her name. The colony administrator, an older man named Ki-boom, stood at the gate. His hands were shaking, but he tried to keep his voice steady. "We mean no disrespect," Ki-boom said in broken Vraka language. "We did not know this land was yours. We can negotiate. We can share resources." Myon's eyes narrowed. She spoke in perfect human language, her voice deep and sharp like grinding stone. "You build on the graves of first hunters, sacred ground. You bring machines that poison the soil. You scare away the prey animals." She raised her spear and pointed it at Ki-boom. "Leave by tomorrow's sun, or we remove you." "Please," Ki-boom said. "We have nowhere else to go. Our ship is broken. We need time to repair it. Just give us a few months." "Months?" Myon's lips pulled back, showing rows of sharp teeth. It might have been a smile, but it looked like a threat. "You ask for mercy you have not earned. In Vraka law, disputes are settled by combat. If your strongest warrior can defeat me, we will consider your request. If not, you leave or die." The crowd of humans behind the gate went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Nobody in the colony was a soldier. They were farmers, engineers, scientists, families. They had a few security officers with basic training, but nothing compared to a Vraka warrior. Ki-boom turned back to look at the colonists. His face was desperate. Is there anyone who can fight?" Silence. People looked at the ground or at each other, but nobody stepped forward. Daeho felt his heart pounding. He thought about his sister back on Earth. He thought about the families in the colony who would die or be forced into the desert without supplies. He thought about how stupid and unfair it all was. Before he could stop himself, he raised his hand. "I'll do it," he said. Everyone turned to stare at him. Ji-won grabbed his arm. "Daeho, no, you're an engineer. You've never fought anyone in your life." "I know," he said quietly, "but nobody else is volunteering." Ki-boom looked at him with a mixture of hope and guilt. Are you sure? Daeho wasn't sure at all, but he nodded anyway. Kibum turned back to Miyon. We accept your challenge. Our warrior will face you. Miyon looked past Kibum to where Daeho stood in the crowd. Her golden eyes studied him from head to toe. Daeho was average height for a human, thin from rationed food, with messy black hair and dirt under his fingernails from working on machines all day. He probably looked like a child compared to her. For a long moment, Mion said nothing. Then she threw back her head and laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound. The other Vraka warriors joined in, their laughter echoing across the desert. You insult me, Mion said, still laughing. You send a mechanic to fight a chieftain? You mock the tradition of honor combat? We send our best, Kibum lied. Mion's laughter stopped. Her eyes went cold again. Very well. If this is your best, then your species is weaker than I thought. Tomorrow at midday, we fight. Bring whatever weapon you choose. Prepare yourself, little human. She looked directly at Daeho. I will try to make your death quick. She turned and walked away, her warriors following behind her. They disappeared into the desert, leaving only dust and the smell of leather and steel. The moment they were gone, people surrounded Daeho. Some thanked him, some cried, some just stared at him like he was already dead. Jiwon pulled him away from the crowd. What were you thinking? She's going to kill you. I know, Daeho said. He felt strangely calm now. But I have until tomorrow. Help me learn everything about Vraka culture, everything about their fighting styles, their honor codes, their history. There has to be something useful. Daeho, this isn't a machine you can fix. This is combat. Everything has rules, he said. Even fighting, even honor. If I can understand the rules, maybe I can find a way to survive. That night, Daeho didn't sleep. He sat in the colony library, reading every file they had about the Vraka. Ancient texts, combat recordings, cultural studies, everything. Jiwon brought him coffee and stayed with him, helping him search. The Vraka were warriors, yes, but they were also bound by tradition. Every movement in their combat had meaning. Every challenge followed specific rules. They valued honor above victory, ceremony above efficiency. As the sun started to rise, Daeho found something interesting. An old text about traditional Vraka gestures. Some meant war, some meant peace, and some meant things that went deeper than words. He stared at the screen, reading the same passage over and over. I have an idea, he said quietly. It's crazy. It probably won't work. What is it? Jiwon asked. I can't beat her in a fight, Daeho said, but maybe I don't have to. Outside, the sun climbed higher. Midday was coming. It was time to face Mion. The arena was simple. The Vraka had drawn a large circle in the sand outside the colony walls. It was about 30 meters across, marked with stones and old bones. Nothing fancy, nothing complex. Just a place to fight and a place to die. Daeho stood at one edge of the circle. His mouth was dry. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. He wore his normal work clothes because he had nothing else. In his hands, he held a simple metal staff, about as tall as he was. It was the closest thing to a weapon he could find in the colony storage. Across from him, Miyon waited. She looked even bigger in the daylight. Her black scales seemed to drink in the sun. The red blade of her spear looked hungry. Behind her, 50 Vraka warriors sat on rocks and watched. Their golden eyes never blinked. Behind Daeho, the colonists gathered. 200 frightened humans, waiting to see if they would live or die based on what happened in the next few minutes. A Vraka warrior stepped forward. He was older, with gray scales mixed with green. He spoke in a formal tone. This is honor combat. Traditional weapons only. Fight until surrender, flight, or death. The spirits watch. Begin. He stepped back. Mion moved. She was fast. faster than Daiho thought possible for something so large. Her spear came at him like lightning, aimed straight at his chest. He barely got his staff up in time. Metal rang against metal. The force of the blow knocked him back 3 steps. She didn't stop. She pressed forward, her spear a blur of red light. High strike, low strike, thrust, sweep. Daiho blocked desperately, his arms already aching from the impacts. Each hit felt like getting struck by a machine. He tried to step back, to create distance, but she was everywhere. Her reach was longer, her strength was greater. Her speed made him look like he was moving through water. A strike got through his defense. The flat of her spear blade hit his shoulder. Pain exploded through his arm. He stumbled, nearly dropping his staff. The Vraka warriors made sounds of approval. They liked what they were seeing. A proper fight. A proper execution. Daiho's mind raced. He couldn't win with strength. He couldn't win with speed. But he could watch. He could learn. He started paying attention to her patterns. Every warrior had them. Patterns in how they moved, how they attacked, how they recovered. Mion was skilled, but she fought with forms. Traditional forms. The same techniques Vraka had used for thousands of years. High strike to the head, followed by low sweep to the legs. Thrust to the center, pull back, circle left. It was like a dance she had practiced so many times that she didn't think about it anymore. Daiho stopped trying to counterattack. He focused everything on defense. Block, dodge, step back, survive. Just survive and watch. Mion's eyes narrowed. She said something in Vraka language. Daiho didn't understand the words, but he understood the tone. She was getting annoyed. She increased her speed. Her attacks came faster, harder. But now Daiho could see them coming just barely. He knew that after a high strike, she would go low. He knew that after a thrust, she would circle left to protect her left side. Her left side. She always protected her left side. Daiho risked a glance. There, barely visible under her leather armor, was the edge of a scar. An old wound, maybe. Something that still bothered her, even if she didn't realize it. He could use that. A quick strike while she circled, aimed at that old injury. It might be his only chance to hurt her. But something stopped him. He remembered what he had read last night, the old text about Vraka culture. They valued honor above everything. They valued the purity of combat, but more than that, they valued respect. If he won by exploiting an old wound, even if he somehow managed it, would they honor the victory? Or would they call it a trick, an insult to tradition? Mion's spear came at his head. He ducked, rolled to the side, came up breathing hard. His legs were tired. His arms felt like weights. He couldn't keep this up much longer. Time for the crazy idea. He stopped moving. Just stopped. Right in the middle of the arena. Mion charged at him, spear raised for a killing blow. At the last second, Daiho did something nobody expected. He dropped his staff. The metal rod fell to the sand with a soft thump. Daiho raised his hands, but not in surrender. He spoke in Vraka language. His pronunciation was terrible, but the words were clear. He had practiced them all night. I acknowledge your blade. I acknowledge your strength. I acknowledge your honor as chieftain and warrior. Mion's spear stopped inches from his throat. Her whole body went rigid. Behind her, the Vraka warriors made sounds of confusion. Daiho continued in Vraka. But I question your wisdom. I question if strength alone makes a good leader. I question if victory through violence is the only path to honor. These were words from ancient Vraka texts. Ceremonial words that hadn't been used in combat challenges for hundreds of years. Words that questioned not the warrior's skill, but their right to lead. Mion's eyes went wide. Then they narrowed to slits. Her lips pulled back, showing all her teeth. A low growl came from her throat. You dare, she hissed in human language. You dare question me? In the sacred circle? With those ancient words that you barely understand? I understand them, Daeho said, switching back to human language. His voice was steady even though his legs were shaking. Your people once believed that the best leaders were those who could win without fighting, who could see solutions others couldn't see, who could protect their people through wisdom, not just strength. Those times are dead, Mion said. The old ways were weak. Now we are strong. Now we survive through steel and blood. Are you? Daeho asked. He gestured around at the desert, at the harsh land. You have warriors. You have weapons. But your clans are scattered. You fight each other over hunting grounds. You drive away anyone different instead of learning from them. Is that strength? Or is that just fear wearing strength's face? Mion's growl became a roar. She raised her spear high. The blade caught the sun, blazing red like fire. Every muscle in her body tensed. She charged. Daeho didn't move, didn't dodge, didn't run. He stepped forward, right into her charge. At the last microsecond, Mion's spear stopped. The blade was pressed against Daeho's throat, not cutting, but touching. One more inch, and he would be dead. But she didn't move that final inch. Her honor code wouldn't let her. He had dropped his weapon. He had acknowledged her supremacy. He had surrendered, but not submitted. In ancient Vraka law, killing an unarmed opponent who showed respect was the deepest dishonor. She was trapped by her own traditions. They stood frozen, her spear at his throat, his eyes meeting hers without fear, without challenge, just calm acceptance. The arena was completely silent. Not a sound from the Vraka warriors, not a breath from the human colonists. Slowly, carefully, Daeho raised his right hand. Mion's eyes tracked the movement, her muscles ready to strike if he tried anything. His hand moved up, past her spear, past her face. And then gently, he placed his palm on top of her head. His fingers rested on her scales between her eyes, right at the crown of her skull. It was a simple gesture, kind even, like petting a friend, like showing affection and trust. The effect was like lightning hitting the ground. Mion went completely still. Her eyes went wide, so wide that Daeho could see white around the golden irises. Her mouth opened slightly. The spear in her hand began to shake. Behind her, every single Vraka warrior stood up. The sound of 50 warriors moving at once was like thunder. Then, one by one, their weapons fell. Spears, axes, blades, all dropped to the sand with dull thuds. The old gray warrior who had started the fight made a sound like choking. He said something in Vraka that sounded like a prayer or a curse. Mion's second in command, a large warrior named Taiwan, stepped forward slowly. His face showed shock and confusion. He reached out and gently took Mion's spear from her hands. She let him take it without resistance, still staring at Daeho. Daeho had no idea what was happening. He had read about gestures, yes, but the text had been partial, incomplete. He didn't understand why everyone was reacting like the sky had fallen. He just knew that touching her head had felt right, a gesture of peace, of respect, of seeing her as a person, not just a warrior. Mion's voice came out as barely a whisper. "What have you done?" Daeho started to say. Then his legs finally gave out. The adrenaline that had kept him going drained away all at once. He collapsed to his knees in the sand, his hand falling from her head. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Mion's face, her expression something between horror and wonder, as if he had done something impossible, something that changed everything. Daeho woke up in the medical tent. His body ached everywhere. His shoulder, where Mion's spear had hit him, was wrapped in bandages. Someone had given him water and food. The sun was lower now. Hours had passed. Jiwon sat beside his bed, her face pale and worried. When she saw his eyes open, she let out a long breath. "You're alive," she said. "I wasn't sure you would be." "What happened?" Daeho asked. His throat was dry. After I passed out? Chaos, Jiwon said. Complete chaos. The Vraka warriors left. All of them. They didn't attack, didn't say anything. They just took Mion and left. She was in some kind of shock. They had to help her walk. Daeho sat up slowly, wincing at the pain. Did they say when they're coming back? No. But Daeho, Jiwon pulled out her tablet and showed him a text file. I've been researching what you did. That gesture. Touching her head. It was a sign of respect, right? Daeho said. The old texts mentioned it. It's more than respect, Jiwon said. Her voice was shaking. Much more. Among the Vraka, touching the crown of another warrior's head is the most intimate gesture possible. It's something only life mates do, or parents to children. It means absolute trust, absolute bond. Daeho's stomach went cold. I didn't know. The text didn't explain fully. There's more, Jiwon continued. For a chieftain, it has special meaning. It's how leadership is passed down. When a dying chief touches the head of their successor, it's a blessing, a transfer of authority. And if a chieftain allows someone else to touch their head without killing them, she paused. It means they've accepted that person as their superior, as someone with authority over them. No, Daeho whispered. That can't be right. It is, Jiwon said. By Vraka law, Mion is no longer a chieftain. She accepted your dominance when she allowed the touch. That's why her warriors dropped their weapons. That's why they left. Without a chief, they can't make decisions about war or peace. Daeho put his head in his hands. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to show her that I saw her as a person, not an enemy. I know, Jiwon said softly. But intentions don't change what happened. You accidentally claimed authority over the most dangerous warrior on this planet. And by their laws, she either has to accept it, kill you, or live in exile forever. A voice came from the entrance of the tent. She should kill him. Both of them turned. Taewon, Mion's second in command, stood at the entrance. His massive frame filled the doorway. His hand rested on the handle of his axe. Jiwon moved in front of Daeho protectively. You can't hurt him. This is human territory. I'm not here to hurt him, Taewon said. His human language was good, though heavily accented. I'm here to understand. What you did to our chief. Explain it. Daeho stood up slowly, ignoring the pain. He looked Taewon in the eyes. It was a mistake. I didn't know what it meant. I was trying to show respect and trust. Respect? Taewon's laugh was bitter. You humiliated her. In front of her warriors, in front of her enemies. Word is already spreading to other clans. They're saying she's weak, saying she's submitted to a human. Where is she now? Daeho asked. Outside your settlement, in the desert, alone. Taewon's voice was hard. She won't come back to us, can't come back. By law, she's cast out until her status is resolved. Can I talk to her? She'll probably kill you. I have to try, Daeho said. I caused this. I have to fix it. Taewon studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I'll take you. But human, if you make this worse, I will kill you myself. Chief or no chief, Mion is family to me. Daeho gathered some supplies. Water, food, a blanket. Jiwon tried to come with him, but he refused. This is between me and her, he said. Taewon led him into the desert as the sun was setting. They walked for an hour in silence. Finally, Taewon pointed to a rocky outcrop in the distance. She's there. I'll wait here. If you don't come back by morning, I'll assume she killed you. Cheerful thought, Daeho muttered. He walked the last distance alone. The desert was getting cold now. Stars were appearing overhead, more stars than Earth ever had. This planet was beautiful and brutal at the same time. He found Mion sitting on a flat rock staring out at the empty sand. She didn't look at him when he approached. Her spear lay beside her, but she wasn't holding it. "Go away, human," she said quietly. "I brought water," Deho said. He set down the supplies. "And food, and a blanket for when it gets colder." "I said go away." "I know what I did," Deho said. "Jiwan explained it to me. The meaning of the gesture. I didn't know. I'm sorry." "Sorry," Mayon repeated. The word sounded strange in her mouth. "What is sorry worth? Can sorry give me back my clan, my honor, my life?" "No," Deho admitted. He sat down on the sand, a respectful distance away. "But maybe we can find a way forward. Together." Now she looked at him. Her golden eyes reflected the starlight. "There is no way forward. I either accept you as my superior, which is impossible, or I kill you, which accomplishes nothing, or I live in exile until I die. Those are my only choices." Jiwan found another option, Deho said. "An old tradition called the Walk of Understanding. If we do it together, you can reclaim your position." "The Walk of Understanding," Mion said slowly. "That hasn't been done in 300 years. It requires both parties to agree. It requires tests of wisdom and trust, and at the end, if the challenged authority is found worthy, they retain their position. But if they are found wanting," she looked away, "the other person truly becomes their superior." "Then we do it," Deho said. "We prove that what happened was a misunderstanding, that you're still the right leader for your people." "Why would you help me?" Mion asked. Her voice was sharp with suspicion. "You won. You humiliated the great Mion. You could claim my clan, my territory. Why give that up?" "Because I don't want any of that," Deho said simply. "I'm an engineer. I fix machines. I just want my people to live in peace. And I think maybe you want that too. Deep down." Mion was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "When I was young, my mother was chief. She was strong, yes. But she was also wise. She made alliances with other clans. She found ways to share hunting grounds. She believed that a good leader protects their people not just with strength, but with smart choices." "What happened to her?" Deho asked. "She was killed." "By warriors who thought she was weak, who thought alliances were betrayal. I became chief, and I vowed never to be weak like her." Mion's claws dug into the rock she sat on. "I became exactly what they wanted. Strong, brutal, undefeated. And now my clan is isolated, our hunting grounds are shrinking, and we fight everyone around us for scraps." "Your mother wasn't weak," Deho said. "She was ahead of her time." "Maybe," Mion said. "Or maybe I'm the fool who threw away wisdom for pride." Deho stood up and walked closer. Mion's hand moved to her spear, but she didn't pick it up. "There's something else you should know," Deho said. "A rival clan, the Skarn. They heard about what happened. They're coming to challenge Taiwan for your territory, including the land where my people live. If they win, they'll kill all the humans." Mion's eyes went sharp. "Hyun-woo, the Skarn chief. He's been waiting for an opportunity like this. Taiwan is a good warrior, but not good enough to beat Hyun-woo." "Then we need to do the Walk of Understanding," Deho said. "Fast, before the challenge happens, because if you're not a chief anymore, you can't defend your territory. And if your territory falls, my people die." "You're using my pride against me," Mion said, but there was almost a smile in her voice. "Clever, human." "My name is Deho," he said, "and you're Mion, not chief, not human. Just people trying to solve a problem." Mion stood up. She was so much taller than him, but somehow it didn't feel threatening anymore. "The walk has 3 trials. They're dangerous. They test things warriors aren't good at: cooperation, mercy, sacrifice. I could fail. You could fail. We could both die." "What happens if we don't try?" Deho asked. "Everyone dies," Mion said. "Slow or fast, but everyone." She picked up her spear. For a moment, Daiho thought she might attack. Instead, she held it out to him horizontally, an offering, not a threat. "Very well, Daiho the engineer. We walk together, but know this. If you betray me, if this is some trick, I will kill you slowly." "No tricks," Daiho said. He didn't touch the spear. Just two people trying to find a better way. Mion pulled the spear back and shouldered it. "Tomorrow we begin. The first trial is the trial of vision. We'll see if your human cleverness is worth anything when you can't see at all." She walked past him, heading back toward where Taewon waited. Daiho grabbed the supplies and followed. Behind them, the stars watched silently. The desert kept its secrets. And in the distance, another clan was preparing for war. The trial of vision began at dawn. Taewon led them to a place called the Razor Canyon, a deep cut in the desert floor where sharp rocks jutted from the walls like teeth. The path through it was narrow and dangerous even with eyes open. With eyes closed, it would be deadly. Jiwon came too, carrying the ceremonial items required by tradition. Long strips of cloth to bind their eyes, and a rope to connect Daiho and Mion together at the waist. The trial required them to cross the canyon while blind, relying only on each other's guidance and trust. "This is insane," Jiwon whispered to Daiho as she tied the cloth around his eyes. "You've known her for 2 days, and now you're literally trusting her with your life." "We don't have a choice," Daiho said. Everything went dark as the cloth covered his eyes. "How much time before the Skarn arrive?" 3 days at most, Taewon answered. He was binding Mion's eyes. "Yunwoo is not patient. He'll want to claim the territory before other clans hear about Mion's situation." Daiho felt the rope tie around his waist. A tug told him Mion was on the other end, about 3 meters away. "The rules," Taewon said formally. "You must both reach the other side. If one falls, both fail. You cannot remove the blindfolds until you reach the end marker. You cannot be guided by anyone else. Speak to each other, trust each other, or die together." "Cheerful as always," Mion muttered. "Even blind." Her voice carried confidence. "Ready, human?" "Ready," Daiho lied. "Begin," Taewon said. Daiho took a careful step forward. His foot found solid ground. The second step, the ground was uneven. He stumbled slightly, caught himself. The rope around his waist went tight as Mion moved in a different direction. "Stop," she said. "We need a system. Random movement will get us killed." "Agreed," Daiho said. His heart was pounding. Being blind in a dangerous place made every sound, every sensation overwhelming. "You know this area better than me. You lead?" "No," Mion said, surprising him. "You're smaller, lighter. You won't trigger loose rocks as easily. You go first. I'll follow and warn you of dangers I hear or feel through the rope." "That's very trusting of you," Daiho said. "Don't make me regret it," Mion replied. But her tone was less hostile than before. Daiho took a slow breath and started walking. Each step was careful, testing. He used his feet to feel for loose stones, for gaps, for changes in the ground. Behind him, Mion moved with surprising quiet for someone so large. "Left," she said suddenly. "There's wind coming from the right. That means open space. Probably a drop." Daiho shifted left. His shoulder brushed against rough rock. "Wall here." "Good. Stay close to it." They moved together step by step. The rope between them became a lifeline, a constant connection. When Daiho went too fast, it would pull tight, Mion's warning to slow down. When he hesitated too long, it would go slack, her signal to trust and move forward. Time lost meaning in the darkness. It could have been minutes or hours. Daiho's legs started to shake from the constant tension. Sweat dripped down his back despite the cold morning air. "Daiho," Mion said quietly. Why did you volunteer? In the arena, when no one else would. Why you? Someone had to, Deho said, navigating around what felt like a large boulder. And everyone else had families, responsibilities. I'm just an engineer. Just an engineer, Mion repeated. Yet you faced me without fear. I had plenty of fear, Deho admitted. I just didn't let it stop me. That's what courage is, Mion said. My people respect fearlessness in battle, but maybe that's not the same as courage. Maybe courage is being afraid and doing what's necessary anyway. Deho was so surprised by her words that he almost missed his next step. His foot found only air. He gasped, started to fall forward. The rope went tight around his waist, jerking him backward. Mion had braced herself, using her weight to keep him from falling. Don't die yet, she said. We're not finished talking. Deho's hands were shaking. Thank you. You'd do the same for me, Mion said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Deho said, and he realized it was true. They continued. Deho found a narrow path that skirted the edge of what must have been a deep drop. They crossed it together, moving in perfect rhythm now. The rope between them barely moved. They had learned each other's pace, each other's warnings. On the other side, the ground became easier, smoother, and then Deho's foot hit something soft, cloth. I think we made it, he said. The end marker, Mion confirmed. Taewon, you have both reached the end. Taewon's voice came from nearby. You may remove your blindfolds. Deho pulled off the cloth. The morning sun was bright, painful after the darkness. He squinted, looking back at the canyon they had crossed. His blood went cold. The path was even more dangerous than he'd imagined. Narrow ledges, sharp rocks, places where one wrong step would have meant a fatal fall. Mion removed her blindfold too. Her golden eyes studied the path behind them. We shouldn't have survived that. But we did, Deho said, together. For the first time, Mion smiled. It was small, uncertain, like she wasn't used to the expression, but it was real. The first trial is past, Taewon announced, but the other two will be harder, and time is running out. Scouts report that Hyunwoo's warriors are only 2 days away. The second trial came that afternoon, the trial of choice. Taewon led them to a rocky area where desert creatures came to drink from a small spring. It was neutral ground, not owned by any clan. They waited, hidden behind rocks. The trial requires you to encounter someone in need, Taewon explained. What you choose to do will be judged. That's vague, Deho said. It's meant to be, Mion said. The trial tests your true nature, not your ability to follow instructions. They didn't have to wait long. A figure appeared at the spring, stumbling and weak. It was a Vraka warrior, but not from Mion's clan. His scales were lighter, marked with the red paint of the scarn. He was injured badly, bleeding from several wounds. He collapsed at the water's edge and drank desperately. That's one of Hyunwoo's scouts, Mion whispered. He must have been attacked by desert predators. We should help him, Deho said, starting to stand. Mion grabbed his arm, pulling him back down. Are you mad? He's the enemy. He's probably been spying on my clan's territory. If we save him, he'll report back to Hyunwoo about everything he's seen. If we don't save him, he'll die, Deho said. So? Mion's voice was hard. That's one less warrior we'll have to face when the Skarn attack. Is that what a good leader does? Deho asked. Let people die because it's convenient? Mion's claws dug into the rock. A good leader protects their people. Saving an enemy warrior puts my clan at risk. Your mother would have saved him, Deho said quietly. Mion's eyes flashed with anger, then pain, then something else. She looked at the injured scout, then at Deho, then back at the scout. You're asking me to choose between old wisdom and new strength, she said. I'm asking you to choose what kind of leader you want to be, Deho said. Not for the trial, for yourself. Mion stood up. Her jaw was tight. She walked toward the wounded scout, her hand on her spear. The scout saw her coming and tried to scramble away, but he was too weak. He raised one arm defensively, waiting for death. Mion knelt beside him. She set down her spear. Then she tore a strip of cloth from her own garment and began bandaging his wounds. The scout stared at her in shock. "Why?" he whispered in Vraka. "Because a warrior's death should come in battle," Mion said. "Not alone at a waterhole. Because mercy is not weakness. And because someone recently reminded me that there are choices beyond violence." Daiho approached with water from the spring. Together they tended the scout's wounds. He would survive, though he would need days to recover. "Why help me?" the scout asked again. "I am Skarn. We come to take your territory." "I know," Mion said. "When you're healed, you'll return to Hyun-woo. You'll tell him everything. That's your duty. But know this. Tell him that Mion, chieftain of the southern clans, no longer fights only with spears. Tell him that things are changing." The scout nodded slowly, confusion and respect mixing in his eyes. As they left, Taewon joined them. His expression was unreadable. "The trial of choice is past. You chose compassion over advantage. Some would call that foolish." "Some would be right," Mion said. "But maybe it's time for new kinds of wisdom." "One trial remains," Taewon said. "The trial of sacrifice. Tomorrow at sunset. It will be the hardest." That night, back at the colony, Daeho found Jiwon looking at star charts. "The ship," she said without preamble. "The transport ship that brought us here. I've been working on repairs, but we're missing a critical component for the FTL drive. It's rare. The only way to get one is to order it from Earth." "How long would that take?" Daeho asked. 6 months minimum. But if we had it..." She looked at him. "We could leave this planet. Find somewhere safer. Somewhere without warrior clans trying to kill us." Daeho thought about the Razor Canyon, about the injured scout, about Mion's small, uncertain smile. "That's not happening," he said. "Why not?" Jiwon asked. "Because we're not running anymore," Daeho said. "We're building something here, something new." He walked out into the desert night, looking toward where Mion camped with her warriors. Tomorrow would be the trial of sacrifice, and he was starting to understand what that might cost. The trial of sacrifice took place at sunset on a hill overlooking both the human colony and the Vraka encampment. Taewon had prepared a ceremonial fire, its smoke rising straight into the orange sky. Around the fire, he had placed 2 stone altars. "The final trial is simple," Taewon explained. "Each of you must sacrifice something precious, something that matters to you more than pride, more than comfort, something that costs you greatly to give up." "What happens to what we sacrifice?" Daeho asked. "It's destroyed," Taewon said. "Burned in the ceremonial fire, given to the spirits. Once sacrificed, it cannot be reclaimed." Mion stood on one side of the fire, Daeho on the other. Between them, the flames danced and crackled. Mion reached behind her back and unstrapped her spear, the weapon that had been with her through 17 honor challenges, the blade that had made her famous, feared, respected, her family's legacy passed down through 5 generations of chieftains. She held it across both palms, looking down at the red blade that caught the firelight. "This spear was my great-great-grandmother's," she said quietly. "She led our clan through the War of 10 Sons. My great-grandmother carried it when she unified the southern territories. My grandmother used it to defend our sacred lands from the northern invasion. My mother..." Her voice caught. "My mother held this spear when she tried to make peace instead of war, and I took it from her dead hands and vowed to be stronger than she was." She walked to the fire and held the spear over the flames. I sacrifice this weapon. I sacrifice the pride of my family's martial history. I sacrifice the belief that strength only comes from violence." She released the spear into the fire. The ancient wood caught quickly. The leather wrappings blackened. The red blade, some kind of crystal or treated metal, began to glow brighter and brighter until it cracked with a sound like thunder. Pieces fell into the fire, each one 100 years of tradition turning to ash. Mion watched it burn, her face showing no emotion, but her hands were clenched so tight that her claws drew blood from her palms. Now it was Daeho's turn. He pulled something from his pocket, a small data chip, barely bigger than his thumbnail. It looked insignificant compared to Mion's grand sacrifice. "This contains my return authorization," Daeho said. "My ticket back to Earth. Every colonist gets one. If things get too dangerous, if the colony fails, we can call for evacuation and go home. This chip has my personal code. Without it, I can never leave this planet. I'll be stuck on Talon's edge for the rest of my life." Jiwon, watching from the side, gasped. "Daeho? No, you don't have to do this." "Yes, I do," Daeho said. He looked at Mion across the fire. "I sacrifice my safety net. I sacrifice my way home. I sacrifice the option to run away when things get hard. If I'm asking your people to change, to take risks, to trust humans, then I need to commit too. This is my home now. Not because I'm trapped here, but because I choose it." He dropped the chip into the fire. It melted instantly, the data it contained destroyed forever. For a moment, no one spoke. The fire crackled, the wind blew, the sun touched the horizon. "The trials are complete," Taewon said. His voice was thick with emotion. "Both parties have shown vision without sight, mercy without weakness, and sacrifice without regret. By ancient law, Mion, you are restored as chieftain, and Daeho." He paused, seeming to struggle with the words. "You are recognized as an equal in wisdom and authority, a counselor, a partner in leadership." "That's not a traditional Vraka position," Mion said. "No," Taewon agreed. "It's something new, but these are new times." Mion walked around the fire to face Daeho. She towered over him, but she inclined her head slightly, a gesture of respect between equals. "Thank you," she said, "for the trials, for everything. I am chief again. You are free from any obligation to me or my people." "What if I don't want to be free?" Daeho asked. Mion's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "The Skarn are coming tomorrow," Daeho said. "Hyunwoo will challenge Taewon. If Taewon loses, your clan loses its territory, including the land where my people live. We'll be back to the same problem we started with." "I know," Mion said. "I've been thinking about it. I could challenge Hyunwoo myself. If I win, the territory stays ours. If I lose," she shrugged, "at least I'll die as a warrior." "Or," Daeho said, "there's another option." "What option?" "Fight him together," Daeho said. "You and me, combined combat, a bonded pair, like in the old stories." Taewon made a choking sound. "That hasn't been done in 400 years. Modern Vraka law doesn't even recognize it anymore." "But it's still in the old codes," Daeho said. "I read about it. 2 warriors who have completed the Walk of Understanding can fight as a single unit in honor challenges. It was how the ancient Vraka fought when facing overwhelming odds." "It's a loophole," Mion said slowly. A smile was growing on her face. "A technicality. Hyunwoo won't know how to counter it because no one has used that tactic in living memory." "Exactly," Daeho said. "He's expecting single combat, traditional forms. But we'll give him something he's never seen before. Human strategy combined with Vraka strength." "You realize you could die?" Mion said. "Hyunwoo is faster and stronger than I am. If we fight together and lose, we both die." "I burned my return ticket," Daeho said. I'm all in. Mion looked at him for a long moment. Then she held out her hand, palm up, a human gesture she had learned from watching the colonists. Daeho placed his hand in hers. Her scales were warm from standing near the fire. Her grip was strong but careful. Together then, she said, we'll show them a new way of fighting. The next day, Hyunwoo arrived with 30 warriors. He was massive, even for a Vraka, with green scales marked with battle scars. His weapon was a double-headed axe that looked like it could split a boulder. He radiated confidence and cruelty. I'm here for the challenge, Hyunwoo announced. Mion has fallen. Her clan has no chief. I claim this territory by right of combat. The territory has a chief, Taewon said. Mion has completed the walk of understanding. She is restored. Hyunwoo's eyes narrowed. Convenient. Very well. I challenge Mion then. For territory, for honor, for dominance. Challenge accepted, Mion said, stepping forward. But not by me alone. I fight with my bonded partner, as is my right under ancient law. She gestured to Daeho, who stood beside her. He wore armor now, simple but functional, made by the colony's metal workers. In his hands he held a new weapon, a short spear designed for his height and reach. Hyunwoo stared at them. Then he began to laugh. You bring a human? To an honor challenge? This is your great solution? Yes, Mion said simply. Fine, Hyunwoo said. I'll kill you both. It will be quicker that way. The arena was the same circle where Daeho had first faced Mion, but this time, everything was different. This time they fought together. Hyunwoo charged first, his axe swinging in a wide arc meant to catch both of them, but Daeho and Mion moved in opposite directions, splitting apart like water flowing around a rock. Hyunwoo's axe hit empty air. Before he could recover, Mion attacked from his left, while Daeho jabbed at his right leg. Hyunwoo had to defend against both, his movements suddenly less confident. You fight like cowards, Hyunwoo snarled. We fight like partners, Mion replied. They had spent all night training, learning each other's movements, creating patterns that would confuse a traditional fighter. When Mion attacked high, Daeho went low. When Daeho created an opening, Mion exploited it. They communicated with small gestures, with rhythm, with the trust they had built crossing the Razor Canyon. Hyunwoo was stronger than either of them, faster than Daeho, more experienced than Mion. But he was one warrior fighting two who moved like one mind. The battle went on. Hyunwoo landed hits. Daeho's armor dented. Mion took a cut across her arm. But they kept moving, kept adapting, kept fighting in ways that no warrior expected. Finally, Daeho saw the opening. He dropped low, sweeping at Hyunwoo's legs. The big warrior jumped to avoid it, exactly as Daeho predicted. And Mion was there in the air, her borrowed spear driving forward with all her strength. The blade caught Hyunwoo in the shoulder, not fatal but deep. He roared in pain and fury, swinging his axe wildly. But Daeho was already pulling him off balance from behind, while Mion pressed the attack from the front. Hyunwoo fell. Before he could get up, Mion's spear was at his throat, and Daeho's weapon pointed at his heart. Yield, Mion said. For a moment it looked like Hyunwoo would rather die. His pride warred with his survival instinct. Then, slowly, he dropped his axe. I yield, he said through gritted teeth. The Skarn warriors made sounds of dismay and shock, but by their laws, the challenge was decided. The territory remained with Mion's clan. Mion and Daeho stepped back, helping each other stay upright. They were exhausted, injured, but alive. This isn't over, Hyunwoo said as his warriors helped him up. This partnership you've made, it's unnatural. Other clans won't accept it. Then we'll show them too, Mion said, as many times as necessary. Things are changing, Hyunwoo. You can change with them, or be left behind. The Skarn left, defeated but not destroyed. Other clans would hear about this. Some would challenge, some would be curious, some would want to learn. That evening a feast was held, Vraka and humans together, sharing food and stories. It was awkward at first. Humans were scared of the large reptilian warriors. Vraka thought human food was bland and strange. But they tried. They talked. They learned. Daiho sat with Ji-won, watching Mion speak with her warriors. She was explaining what had happened, what the trials meant, what the future could look like. "You really can't go home now," Ji-won said quietly. "That return authorization was your only way back to Earth." "I know," Daiho said. "But this is home now. This is where I'm needed." "What you two did today," Ji-won said. "Fighting together like that. It was incredible, but it's also going to have consequences. The Vraka aren't the only species on this planet. Others will hear about the human who fought alongside a chieftain. Some will see it as weakness, others as opportunity." "Let them come," Daiho said. "We'll face them the same way, together." Mion approached, carrying 2 cups of something that looked like fermented fruit juice. She offered one to Daiho. "A Vraka tradition," she said. "After a victorious battle, warriors share drinks and tell stories." Daiho took the cup. The liquid smelled strong and slightly dangerous. "What story do we tell?" "The truth," Mion said. She sat beside him, casual in a way that made several Vraka warriors stare in shock. A chieftain sitting with a human like they were equals? Unthinkable. And yet, it was happening. "We tell them that strength comes in many forms," Mion continued, "that a good leader listens and adapts, that working together is not weakness, but the highest form of strength, that the old ways and new ways can coexist." She looked at Daiho. "That sometimes the smallest gesture can change everything." "You mean when I touched your head?" Daiho asked. "I mean when you saw me as a person first and a warrior second," Mion said. No one had done that in a long time. Maybe ever. They drank together, watching the 2 peoples mix and mingle. It wasn't perfect. There were still tensions, still misunderstandings, but it was a beginning. Taewon approached, carrying a bundle wrapped in cloth. He knelt before Mion with respect. "Chief," he said, "the other warriors asked me to give you this. We collected it from the fire." He unwrapped the cloth. Inside were pieces of Mion's spear, the blade fragments, the metal fittings, everything that hadn't burned. It was broken, unusable, but preserved. "We thought," Taewon said carefully, "that perhaps it could be reforged, not into a weapon, into something new, a symbol of what we're building here." Mion picked up a piece of the blade. It still held a faint red glow. "What would we make?" Daiho smiled. "A bridge. We'll melt these pieces together with human metal. Create something that belongs to both our peoples. Plant it between the colony and your camp. A marker of our alliance." "A bridge made from weapons," Mion said. "I like that. Practical and symbolic." She stood, raising her cup. "A toast to new paths, to unexpected partnerships, to the courage of engineers and the wisdom of warriors, to humans and Vraka learning to walk together." Everyone raised their cups, human and Vraka alike. "Together," they said. The feast continued into the night. Stories were told. Songs were sung in different languages. Children, human and Vraka young, played games at the edge of the firelight. And on a hill overlooking it all, 2 figures stood watching. Daiho and Mion, partners in something that had no name yet. Not quite friendship, not quite alliance. Something new, something that would grow into something bigger than either of them could imagine. "We still have problems," Mion said. "Food shortages, water disputes, other clans who will challenge us, other species who see us as threats." "I know," Daiho said. "We'll handle them, together." Mion reached out and, very carefully, very deliberately, placed her hand on top of Daiho's head. the gesture that had started everything. But now it meant something different. Not dominance, not submission. Just trust. Just respect. Just two different people who had learned to see each other clearly. Daiho smiled and returned the gesture, touching her head gently. She laughed, that same uncertain laugh from before, but growing stronger. In the distance, stars filled the sky. The desert wind blew warm. And on the frontier planet of Talon's Edge, something impossible was happening. Peace, built one gesture at a time.